Full circle.
So I started like when I was 15. I started hustling, trying to make some money. But I started in the church. Cause see, that's where you can make money from. So I
started his whole all wrong. Yep. We gotta wrap this up.
Well, you just got counted. So
What's good? What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another episode at Apartment 4A. Fellas, how everybody doing today?
Blessed and
Doing
highly
good,
favored.
man. Doing good. Doing great.
That's good. That's good. Today we have a outstanding topic. It could actually get a little sensitive. We're gonna really see how this goes. Our topic this week is about religion and the church and the effects that it has on the African American community, especially ourselves. Today we have an outstanding host. It's none other than the great one, the Repent, Mr. Coach, everything, Mr. Pofus. He's gonna host us up today, and then we're gonna highlight Mr. Jonathan Ivy. So without further ado, I hand it over to the host, JP. It's on you.
Hey man, thanks Rod. Thanks a lot. I'm excited. I'm excited about this topic because it has a lot to do with us, not only just as black males, but also as each one of us are leaders in our respective communities. And we have a thing what we talk about in football is reach one to teach one. And that goes beyond measure. So the topic this week, like you said, church and dealing with African Americans, especially with our community. So before we get started, I kind of want to hear everyone thoughts and opinions about, especially you, Terrence. We mentioned it via text. I think Eric did earlier about the war in Ukraine. And I'm gonna start off with you, Jonathan. What's your thoughts on how the country is based on freedom and how we? Oh, my bad. I'm skipping. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. This is a steamy topic. I'm sorry. I'm happy and excited. Johnny Keith's the main attraction today. I'm sorry, Jonathan. So please forgive me. We got to tell how we met Jonathan. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna save his best friends for last. I'm gonna start off with Rod. Rod, how do you come in contact with Jonathan?
Ooh, the best friends for last. Okay.
I'll say who?
Let me meet my mom.
Oh man. Jonathan, we all call him J Key, and he may tell you why we call him J Key or not. I don't know, but we all call him J Key. I met Jonathan through Willie because they were roommates at Southern Miss our freshman year. Jonathan always been the one, and it's ironic that this is the topic. Jonathan's always been the one that made sure, no matter the things that we did at Southern Miss, and we did some things. He always made sure we took some time out to go to church. Jonathan was the one that rode around in the car and found a different church for us to visit every Sunday. So Jonathan always made sure, no matter what we were doing, no matter how late we stayed up, he made sure we all got up, piled in the car, and went and sat in somebody's church on Sunday.
All right. Let's go go down to Terrence. Talk to me, Terrence.
I think we talked about a little bit how we met, and that was through Willie. And so we gonna beat that dead horse. But a story about Mr. J Key. We became closer when everybody left Hattiesburg. When we was the last two left in Hattiesburg, I guess we had to be friends by default. Um, so when everybody left, I think Rod and Willie was the last two to really leave Hattiesburg, and I came back. It seemed like when I came back, everybody took off, but Jonathan stayed around, and we'll get together every week. We got together every once in a while. Had a couple of house gatherings with our loved ones and whatnot. Had a couple of birthday parties and surprise birthday parties and everything. But one thing about Jonathan, he was all he. If you needed something, he was there for you. If you needed something, he was there for you. If you stuck on the side of the road, need somebody to come over and give you a lift, he may be late, but he will be there. So that's one thing I always appreciate about Jonathan. For us being the only ones left in Hattiesburg when most of our friend group left, we was able to still stay in touch and still maintain not really maintain a relationship, to really build a relationship. We didn't have that I guess that crutch of everybody else, but we had to really see each other for each other and start building the bond.
All right, cool. Eric, EKL, talk to me.
All right, yeah. So my story is gonna be kind of short and sweet. Once again, through Willie, I met J Key, and we didn't really go back and forth too much. J Key was usually, kind of laying down, taking a nap, something like that. It wasn't really until we moved into Elam that I kind of interacted more with J Key, and I don't know, if he just got more comfortable or what, but J Key just was popping up more, just kind of around more. So we just, interacted. I knew J Key was up from around North Mississippi, around where Willie and JP were from. And so, even like Kowalski and some other guys that we hung out with, kind of from that area. And the main thing I remember about J Key, the doggone suits, man. J Key was gonna wear a suit because nobody wasn't gonna do it. He was gonna do it. He's gonna be clean. So it's gonna be a different suit every Sunday too, man. That was the main thing I remember about J Key.
All right, Willie. Before I let you go, I'm gonna go ahead and say my thoughts on J Key. How did I first run into Jonathan? Jonathan and I go back. Probably his sophomore, junior year in high school, where I started attending the church with him. And ever since then, our friendship kind of just took off and kind of skyrocketed to the moon, College was, it was something that I wanted to do, but I really didn't have the drive or push to do. But, he was one of the prime advocates for Southern Miss, and when I went down there on my visit, him and Willie and you guys, y'all showed me great love, and I kind of knew then that that's where I wanted to be, and that's who I wanted to put myself around. I will say this about Jonathan, like I said, he always been a young man with an old soul. Like everybody said, always been in church, always making sure you go in church, always make sure you find somewhere to eat after the church. And we know he loves chicken. He's always been like that for a while. So that's my run-ins with J Key. All right, go ahead, Willie.
Let me get myself off mute. Man, me and Jonathan go way, way, way back. Of course, we both from North Mississippi, but we got a lot of history. I can't go over it all tonight. We ain't got no time. Me and Jonathan first met in 4th grade, I want to say. We were both in Miss Swift class. That was kind of the top class to be in 4th grade. If any of my West Point people are listening, you love Miss Swift class. She cooked breakfast for the whole class on the first day of school. You can't beat that. You probably can't do that no more in the classroom. But, and then, of course, me and Jonathan, we were in a lot of classes together. Me and Jonathan both have a love for art. We took a lot of art classes together. We were both in band together in high school. We both played trombone. Then, of course, we went to Southern Miss. We were roommates. So me and Jonathan always kind of stuck together. He used to take me riding out there in Una and his brother in the little green. I can't remember what that car was. The little green car. Yeah, the Escort, the green Escort. And Jonathan used to push that Escort. But yeah, man, we got so much history. A funny story I can give. I'll just give one. When we were at Southern Miss, it might have been freshman year, and Jonathan used to like to ride. He'd be like, let's get in the car and ride. I'm like, okay. So one day we rode, and he was like, let's go down to Louisiana. I'm like, all right, let's go to Louisiana. So we got to ride and ride. I think we got a little too deep into Louisiana. I think we got down up in the Ninth Ward, the fifth. You know how them juvenile videos used to look with the projects? That's where we was at. And I said, Jonathan, we need to turn around, get on up out of here, because this don't look like our type of element. And he did agree, thankfully, and we got on about it. But since then, me and Jonathan has always kept in touch. We always speak. If we don't speak and we come in contact with each other, we don't miss a beat. So, it's been a pleasure knowing Jonathan. We both seen each other grow over the years. And hey, we're going to keep this thing rocking for a couple more years.
A couple more years.
Couple more. That's about it.
Yeah, I know JP be using his daughter stuff, so it don't always work right.
Yeah.
Look like he froze over there.
So then my computer screwed up.
It wasn't all us.
I believe that's racist. Y'all just hating on a black man.
So JK, you gonna answer? You gonna introduce yourself?
He said, "What now, Taylor?"
You gonna introduce yourself?
Okay. I guess I will until JP get himself together.
I'm freezing here.
I'm Jonathan. I am the third child out of 6 children. I'm the better looking out of the whole 6 children.
Yeah, can y'all hear me now?
Go ahead, John.
Okay. I heard JP come in. I was trying to I did start working in the church at a very, very young age. I was ordering choir robes at the age of 14, doing stuff, whatever I could for the church. I had a newsletter. I was doing programs. And then, as y'all heard some episodes before, I started making money out the church, which I did. So I did start making money from the church because I was doing programs, I was doing business cards, I was doing whatever they needed me to do. I am currently employed by Hattiesburg Public Schools, been there 16 years. I am in my truck because I'm in Texas right now, so that's why my light is going out. Okay, there we go. I work at Forest Funeral Home. I also still have my side business. At one point, I was doing T-shirts. I don't do that no more. But I now have a woodworking business. So I do woodworking. I do a lot of obituaries. Not as many weddings, but I do a few weddings. I had a daughter who passed in 2019. I am recently single. Not by choice, but it is what it is. And that's it. With USM, major in business administration and aiming for better.
Word.
Hey man. Hey man. All right. Hey, well, look, man, that's a great job, Jonathan. We all respect you, and life has its ups and downs, but you one of the strong ones that keep pushing through it. So
hey, a question,
okay, well,
a question
before we get into it,
A
J.
question
Key.
asked why they call me J. Key. So my first name is Jonathan. My middle name is Keith. So everybody have always called me Johnny Key. But once I got a little older, people shortened it up and just called me J. Key. They cut off the Johnny Key part. I don't know who created it. I think my daddy did. But I don't know. But I'm from the country too, Ashley. So we're there. What we do, we don't call people by their name.
He
She
got
know about that.
He got another.
Wait a minute.
He
got
from the
another
big
nickname
game.
too now.
He from the
Tutu.
big game.
Tutu.
Hey, don't right now what I know.
All right, but look, let's get into it, man. Like I said, this is an exciting topic that we all gonna dive into, divulge into. But going back to what we was talking about it as well, and JK, I'm gonna let you have the first go at it. You know, our country is based off of freedom, and we're talking about religion. We're talking about religion in the Black culture. You know, the history, the basis of our country, you know, in the Star Spangled Banner, you know, belief under God, we right hand over a pledge, indivisible, you know, under God. What's your thoughts on, even though the country was based on religion, we are allowing as a world to get away from it, but even though that's what the country was based upon.
Who you talking to, JP?
I want you to go ahead and kick it out.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question for me?
Yeah, no problem. Just basically just saying, since our country was based on freedom, everybody have freedom, everybody have rights. What's your thoughts on us as American citizens getting away from our foundations, which was based on religion in society?
What do I think about people coming from out of it? Not following the religious way, in other words.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So my thought is the Lord has already gave us the freedom of choice. So now you do have cults and stuff like that who kind of make you do, and you think about other countries that have a religion that they really force upon you. I think that's one of the great things about our country is we don't force a religion on you. You have that freedom of choice. I wouldn't want to be in a country that makes you serve a certain person. So I think that the country that we live in, we have a good choice to choose who we gonna serve, and I think that's already been ordained from the beginning that we have that choice to serve who we're gonna serve.
All right, Willie, your thoughts?
My thoughts. Trying to get with religion and what's going on. I know you mentioned about with the Ukraine and Russia and all that, and kind of like what John just said. You know, being in America, you do have a choice. You have freedom of religion. If your choice, you have a choice, but at the same time, you're in America. Everything is not okay. You got a choice, so that's good. I agree with that. I'm fine with that. It doesn't just work like that all the time. In religion, in the aspect of things that's going on now in the country, one of the things that I kind of feel about, especially what's going on now with the war and everything, you know, is always pray. You know, Black folks are always, let's pray for this. Let's pray for this country. Let's pray for these people. Let's pray. Let's do this. Sometimes do you ever think that, because like with Ukraine and things going on, if you just saw on the news, you had people, they were denying people of color of getting out. So do you ever have that conflict of thinking, well, how can I pray for someone who doesn't have my same interests in mind? And, you know, to me, that's an aspect of religion and what's going on that I've seen and I've talked about in my household. as far as religion in general, it's a very vast topic. We've all grown up and we've all developed into men. The way we may have went to church as a younger is may not be the same way we go to church now. And church has changed, kind of like Kirk Franklin said. But if you don't think church has gone too far, just wait. But you know, it's a vast topic. So I think we're gonna dive in a couple of those points tonight. I think Eric had his hand, his finger raised.
All right, but I'm going to Rod first. All right.
I go on me.
All right. So my thing with the church, and I've talked about this with a few different people, and you know, if you look at what the church was, especially for us back in the day, the church was a safe haven. You know, especially coming from African Americans and slavery, it was kind of a place for people to be able to get away, people to be able to find something safe, somewhere where they can actually create a foundation, something that you know they could be themselves, a way for them to express themselves on, whether it was through prayer or through music or whatever it is. And as it grew, as we grew as people, the church was kind of the forefront. You know, most of the things that we did in the church. A lot of people learned how to read in the church. They went to school in the church. Um, they got married in the church, and all those. The church was kind of the center of the community. And as we grew, as we learned more, as we became, I guess you say, educated, we kind of step away from some of those things. And things change. I can't say that things should always stay the old traditional way, because you know things change. You have to kind of change with them. But I think one of the things with the church now is we are, I don't know if we're looking to find new traditions or if we're just completely changed in the way of the way that we did it then is not working for the day. I think a lot of people today are pushing away from the church, but I don't know if it's because of uncertainty or maybe it's because of the things that we've been taught, and your family's actually teaching you the things that you're supposed to be taught, and so you feel like you don't need necessarily somebody to tell you the stuff that your family's already telling you. So it's an interesting thing. You know, we'll see where it goes.
All right, Eric, talk to me.
Yeah, I think that I think it's, you know, it's two churches in America. It's always been, right? It's the black church and it's the white church. And people go to church for totally different reasons, right? Black people originally, the only place that we could gather was church. That was the only place we was allowed to gather and talk freely and, you know, express ourselves. And, you know, so I think that we definitely, you know, our ancestors used to get something totally different out of church than what white people got out of it. And I think that kind of as times have changed, our what black people need from the church has changed, but the church hasn't necessarily kept up with the new needs of you know, current black people. And you know, people are approaching that different ways. You got, you know, some non-denominational churches that kind of, you know, accept everybody and focus more on just delivering a message versus the, you know, churches that are more steeped in tradition of, you know, the lineup of traditional service and, you know, kind of honoring those traditions. But as far as, you know, it being the foundation of America and being the foundation of freedom, like I said, we didn't go to church because we were free. We went because we wasn't free. And now that we have a little bit more freedom, I think that the church is going to have to evolve into something else to kind of bring everybody back to it.
Okay, Terrence, talk to us.
I agree with what Ashley said. She said that we got too educated as a people, and now we feel like we don't need the church the way we used to. Um, with more information that we have, and more access to things that we have, we don't look to God for those answers anymore. We kind of look to ourselves, or look to TV, or look to social media, or look to Google, or look to therapists, look to the world for things that ultimately we used to get from the church. And I think the farther we get from that, from our source, from our creator, the worse we're gonna be. But I think as a country, and as Black people, we have to get back to what we got to get back to our foundation. If we were raised in the church, and that's the direction that that's how we was raised, we should keep that at the forefront. We should keep that as our base, not changing our base to fit what the world is doing, but keep that as our foundation, as our base.
All right. And I will say this, by being by stuff being our foundation, what it started upon, like I said, what was built upon in our families, in our family history. Once you, and going back to like what John said, once you get this freedom of being able to kind of, like what you just said as well, Taylor and Eric, having all this education, understanding how you can so-called find answers on your own. We do get away from God, and people like to be praised, and they're just the selfish part of being a human. But Rod and Johnny Key, I kind of want to, and it kind of Bobby kind of hit this pretty quick, but my next question that I kind of wanted to ask you two guys, explain how faith, especially being a Black man in your position, explain how faith has made you grow, and grow not only just as a person, but as a Christian. And how can you share your testimony with others without being so pushy?
Well, for me, just like most of us, I grew up in the church. I've been at the same church, almost 37 years almost. I went to school, went to Southern Missions, wasn't there, but I pretty much was still as member. When I come home, I went to that church. I'm at that church now. And so a lot of the person that I am today is from the values that I learned from the church, and the fact that my mom and my dad was in the church. And I think that kind of helped mold me into the person that I was. The biggest thing about giving your testimony into people where it don't come off as pushy is basically don't put it basically on them. My thing has always been, if a person has an issue, especially if we look at that word sin, if that person is a sinner and we feel like the church is the place or religion is what they need, then you got to let that person come in as they are. Like, we can't shun people because they committed a sin. We've all committed a sin. And we got a chance to repent and hopefully, be forgiven and move forward from that. But we can't go to a person and be like, oh man, you stealing. You need to come to church and get that out of you. That's not necessarily how you bring it. If you look at the word, what Jesus did, Jesus didn't preach from a high horse. Jesus, he came down into the slums. He went down to where the tax collectors were, and he preached directly to the people and invited them to him. It wasn't one of those things where I'm that guy, you need to come be like me. I feel like your actions will speak louder than the words. So, if you're welcoming, then somebody else may see you and say, hey, that's kind of what I want to be.
I'm like Rod. I have always been in the church. I've been the choir director for a very long time. I was grown. We had to go to church. It wasn't no, you ain't getting up and going this Sunday. We had to go. We was there. So while we was there, we had to work. While we was there, I was urgent, and I wanted to quit probably every other Sunday. But the way that I can share my faith is I'm just as real as you. If any of you know any of my coworkers or anybody that know, if you want to talk mess, I can talk mess with you. I'm gonna be on the same level as you, but I also can share what's right and what's wrong without it coming across as, oh, he think I'm better than I am. Because there's everybody on this panel or this podcast know that I'm real. When it comes, I'm gonna talk mess a whole lot, but the person that I am is never been the fake Christian person. So the same person you see during the week, you might see me singing in the choir on Sunday, but after church I'll talk to you just like I do during the week. So I'm not that pushy kind of Christian, and I never have been. I like to share the real me so that you can see authentic Christian people. You don't see people that's trying to force you into something that you might not be delivered out of. I can't deliver you out of what you're going through, but I can help you come into the presence of somebody that can help you be delivered out of what you're going through. I go through stuff. I have issues. I have faults. I have fallen. I have gotten up. I've fallen again. I tripped. I just jumped. But I can tell you what path that we both should be struggling to get on.
Okay, right. And that's one thing about Christians and religion. We, especially in society, we're very judgmental, and we're quick to throw the finger and say, well, Rod go to church every Sunday. I see him outside at work. He's smoking cigarettes, or just throwing out there. And we're so quick to be judgmental instead of helping. And like I said, you never know what someone's going through, but we're just quick to down that person. Somebody might be going through some financially, spiritually, emotionally, but the church is so quick to condemn and point fingers instead of going back to the foundation, going back to the roots. When the Bible tells us we should pray for one another, So, so Taylor, Eric, and Will, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this too, because Black people, like now, everybody is so opinionated. And you hear a lot of African Americans say, well, I'm not praying to a white Jesus. I'm not praying to a white God. I'm not praying to somebody that I can't see, or how do I know is helping? So those type of people, I hate to say it that way, but people like that, they know the Bible, they understand the Bible, but they're quick to flip it. So if a person is quick to flip the Bible, what are some things that you can do to kind of change that person's mindset? And when I mean change that person's mindset, we know no one changed their heart but God.
I think the first thing you have to do is address their fears, because it sounds like they're coming from a fearful place. And if you are approaching the situation with fear, it's impossible to have faith along with that. You got to have either one or the other. Faith, believing in things that you can't see, believing in things that you can't touch, you can't smell, but trusting that is who you're speaking to, not what that person looked like or who it looks like, but the person who created you. So it's not about you have to go to that whole base of it. It's not about is he a white God or a black God or a Muslim God or whatever. Is he the creator of the universe? Do you think that he's the creator of the universe? Trust in that, have faith in who he is and what he has the ability to do. But when you start talking about, I'm not going to pray to him because I don't want to pray to this, I don't want to pray to that, you operate in fear. But I think if you adjust that whole thinking about it, as it don't focus on the stuff that you're afraid of, thinking that you're doing the wrong thing. Focus on what you believe. And if you believe that this is the creator of the universe, who has all powers in his hand, who can change your situation, pray to him. Pray to that. Don't pray to all the stuff that you can't control, that you don't understand. That's how I would try to approach it.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Terrence was saying, and also with some of the comments that we have in the chat, to people with the Bible, you can have as many conversations with people about the Bible. You can take any Bible verse, you can flip it to any situation, you can make it work however you want to make it work. So that's a hard conversation. If I'm trying to convince you off the Bible, like Terrence said, it all depends on what you believe in as a person. You know, interpretation is all over the Bible. Like the comment from Bobby, you know, through life and hardships, you got to believe in something. You know, even if you think you're praying to white Jesus or whoever you're praying to. If you're walking around throughout the day, you're talking to yourself, or you have those voices, you know, your conscience, you know, that's something. You know, it's not just made up. So you have to believe in something, and that goes back to faith. Faith to me is the promise, expectation over my life, and you have to believe in that, you know, and you have to live it. And as another comment in, the way we live, that's the testimony of our faith, and it's just, you know, showing what we believe in. Everything I've got is through faith. You know, I prayed, I worked, and I grew up in the church like everybody else, and the church, and when I brought this topic up to the guys, you know, I was religion versus church. You know, church is good, but religion, I got religion at my house from my mom. I went to church all the time. You know, I came up in the church, played drums in the church. I didn't always get the message. You know, you got a lot of preachers that talk well over your head, you know. So, like Terrence said, it depends on you as a person. You got to know what you're trying to get out of and who you honestly believe in and what's making this world go round and round.
Hey, Willie, and I just wanted to kind of piggyback off this conversation, man. I think you're right on the head, especially with our youth. We pull so much on the youth by, oh man, y'all need to get in the church and get in the church. There's nothing wrong with that. We need them to get in the church and hear the word. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we actually are giving them some attention. Because like you said, there was a point in time where I was going to church and I didn't know what you were talking about. You know, it was just in one ear out the other. I mean, you know, I was there because that's what they told me to do. I had to take some time, learn from myself, go back to what my mom and dad said, and realize, okay, this is who I am. And that come with growth, that come with age. And, you know, maybe that's kind of one of the things we need to do with our youth and say, hey, let's step back. Let's not expect our youth to know everything about the Bible right now. I mean, I don't know everything about the Bible. Let's give them a chance to kind of learn the way that they need to learn so they can continue to grow forward.
I agree with Rod because I remember at my church, I was just talking about this to somebody the other day, or actually yesterday on our way to Texas. We were talking about this, and the preacher that was preaching, all I knew is he preached 45 minutes to an hour, and I was bored. And you couldn't go to sleep because my mom would not let you go to sleep. So I didn't understand nothing, but as I have gotten older and I've grown up and stuff, now I understand. So I feel like we leaving out our kids. I know we want them in church, we want them there, but what actually are we teaching them? Maybe we should pull them to the side. I know some churches have youth church where they're talked to more closely and it's told to them more in a way that they can understand. Because when I was growing up, I didn't understand. I really did. But getting to USM, when we first started going to church, we had the choice really of going to three big churches. That was either Ebenezer, Mount Carmel, or West Point. And most time we went to West Point. And that's when I really first started understanding what the preacher was talking about at West Point. And then after I got situated at the church that I'm at now, that pastor is who I really learned from. So I always extend to him that you were the first person I really learned my Christian journey through, because growing up, I was there. I wasn't paying attention, but I was there. I sung, but I wasn't, I was sung because everybody else sang. Everybody in my family could sing, so I thought I could sing. So I was singing along with them. So when I got older, now I understand more what I sing about, and I understand more what I talk about, and I understand more what the preacher is talking about.
Yeah, JK, you hit it on the head, man. I think that now more than ever, there, especially with younger people, there is so much competing with the message you might get from church. And I think that you have churches that want to rely on the old school kind of mentality of like, well, if you raise right, then you'll do right, and doing right is going to church. But there are too many other tools, too many other ways to give people messages that you have to compete in a sense, right? Because there's so much pulling for these young kids' attention. And we have to be honest, at a certain point, as a child, you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus. All you know are the people that are telling you need to have a relationship with Jesus. And so you're looking at them, and if that's not what you're seeing in them reflected back at you, if all you see is judgment and, kind of them shaming people and stuff like that, why would you have a desire to follow in those footsteps? Why would you have a desire to be in a place with more people like that? And in the past, like I said, for Black people, church was kind of a safe haven. Like, you kind of did everything at church, right? It was the center of the community, but that's not really the case anymore with integration and, people being able to work from wherever, do whatever from wherever. People are a lot more dispersed. And so you don't have that community center anymore. So I just think that approach to religion has to change, right? The idea that, well, if you're a good Christian, you'll go to church every Sunday just because you're supposed to, versus there actually being something that you expect to get from church, especially as a younger person.
And Eric, you brought me right into my next question, you and Charles as well, because I do believe there's history is hurting our youth, if that makes any sense, because there's a lot of miseducation. Everybody want to talk about condemning, going to hell, this, that, and the third, but for the youth whose parents or who's not involved in church, that's not getting them there. That's not teaching them while they're there. So I think our approach to religion should change a little bit. So we always talk about come as you are, but are we teaching them when they come as they are, or are we condemning when they come as they are? Guys, start that out. I'm gonna throw it back on you, Terrence.
Yeah, we always say don't judge, don't judge, don't judge, um, and that is miseducation, because we shouldn't judge the person, because only God can judge the person, but you can judge the action. So we do ask you to come as you are, but we don't want you to stay as you are. Once you are, like Charles said, once you do have that relationship with God, once you do have that you accepted God into your life, your goal is to be, as a Christian, the true definition of Christian is being Christ-like, as in you are accepted Christ in your life, you made the decision to be better, and your better should be like Christ, emulate his life. As he walked on the earth, what did he do? He served, he taught, he gave, he loved. The commandment that he gave us, above everything else, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That is what Jesus taught as he went around, as in love, give, serve. And as you do that, that's how you become more Christ-like. But we do want you to come as you are, but we don't want you to stay as you are. And that's not judging the person, but it is, we want to judge your action so that your action can be better and more Christ-like.
All right, Eric.
I think that Terrence touched on the touchy subject. It's definitely a tight line to walk, as far as the difference between condemning and holding somebody accountable. All right. So when you give your life to Christ, at that point you're saying that you want to begin this journey, you want to begin this walk, and hopefully you have some, just like any other point in your life, you have some mentors or somebody that kind of help you with that journey, and kind of look forward to being held accountable and helping you to improve. Right, iron sharpens iron. But I think a lot of times that comes off as condemnation, and especially, you have so much that's happening, especially across generations. We, so in our church, one of the issues we have is attracting younger people. Right, we have an older church, and right now we're struggling with trying to attract a younger audience. and you kind of see some of the religious heritage in the views that you hear about younger people, right? So it just seems to be like this disconnect with the fact that, you know, in the sagging pants or in the tight clothes, there's a human being, there's a person, and you have to see that first versus, you know, whatever their outward appearance looks like. And so that's definitely a struggle with trying to approach that, especially for the Black church.
All right, Willie.
Yeah, piggyback off what Terrence said. Well, what Eric said. The whole judgmental part. I think with judgmental and religion and church, I feel like the judgmental aspect is always going to be there in some type of way. But as both guys have stated, it's all about your personal growth, and I really think it goes back to the circle or the group of people that you hang with, because I mean, it's been points where I was an avid church member, churchgoer. People saw me singing in the choir. People saw me doing this and doing that. But people really don't know your walk unless they actually know you. You can see me in church. Well, that guy looks like he's doing good in his walk he's doing. But you don't know the internal things that's actually going on. So I think that goes back to the people that you hang around. Like you guys have seen me and my growth, and you can judge and you can tell, you know. So I think the judgment is always there, but you too have to look at the one that's judging you. Like, you know, you hold accountability to different people, and different people's ideas hold different weight, you know. So that's kind of how I look at that whole judgmental aspect in relation to religion.
Okay, Rod and Jonathan, this question is different for you guys, but and we're talking about youth, and we it's because we see it. Fathers aren't in, especially African American fathers aren't in a lot of our youth lives. So I'm a 14-year-old male, Black male, sagging, earrings, you know, just all I know is steal, hustle. You know, I just know how to get by. Smoke every day. I'm gonna come to church high. I'm gonna come to church drunk. So we're talking about we got to have this personal relationship with Christ. What are some ways or tools or steps that you can teach me to have this personal relationship with Christ? Now, granted, I'm 14, 15-year-old. I'm coming, they're letting you know that I'm listening, but I'm still rebelling as well.
I think, you know, as a youth director, you just have to be patient. You know, you have to let God do his work. See, we get into this thing where we think we supposed to fix somebody. That ain't our job. It ain't our job to fix nobody. It ain't our job to say that person need to be fixed. You know, if that person's coming is getting a chance to hear the word, eventually that word will touch that person's heart. That person hears something, just like I said earlier. I went to church. I may not understood, but I stayed in the church because of what I know. And I heard something and it made me come back and stay. And it's the same thing with him. As long as we don't judge that young man, as long as we don't try to make that young man feel like he's less of a person because of the things that he may do, you know, eventually something's going to touch that man. Well, not something, the Lord's going to touch that man and he's going to change. I think I was looking at the comments and thinking about something that Willie said at the beginning of the show with church versus religion. I feel like at some points the church has removed the religion. You know, a lot of times we look at church as being the entity. Oh, I'm going to church. I'm not going to listen to the Lord. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to be closer to God. I'm going to church. Because church is the thing to do. It's Sunday. You ain't going to church. What you doing? Church has become the thing to do, and religion is somewhere else. And I think that's kind of what we're missing is, I mean, even if we think about what we're talking about here, we're talking about the church. We ain't talking about religion. We talking about things that you can do in the church, things that the church need to be doing or not be doing. when it comes to the church need to be doing what thus says the Lord. The church need to be doing what's in his word. That I went and looked up the little scripture, Matthew 7:5, when they talking about look at the plank in your own eye before you take out the plank of somebody else's. That's basically the ideal of the church. The church can't come in and look at what's in somebody else if we can't figure out what's in ours first. We gotta get back to the religion part of it, get back to Christianity, get back to Christ, and quit worrying about what's happening on four walls. Because God's coming back for a church. He could not come back for a church, he come back for the church. And the church ain't the building. It's all about the people that's in there.
One thing that Terrence was talking about was the comment of "come as you are." A lot of us has taken that out of context. Though you talking about the 14-year-old, I heard Reverend Goss say this when I first started going to Plymouth Rock, and he used to say, "I cannot skin the fish until I get it out the water." So what that means is I can't change you until I can get you into the environment. So when we say come as you are, that means whatever is hindering you, if it's sin, if it's smoking, if it's drinking, whatever that is that's hindering you, bring it. And then we're gonna love you until that can change you. So that what it means by come as you are. It's not about what you wear or your short dress, because people like, well, the Lord, they tell me to come as I am, so I'm gonna wear this. No, that's not what it is about. It's about your heart. Whatever heart condition you have, or whatever soul condition you have, you bring it. You come as you are. And what we're gonna do, the church, which is the people, like Rod said, we're gonna love that you have. And eventually, as we love you, that's gonna change you. So to that 14-year-old boy, hypothetically, that you said, we're just gonna love you. You're gonna be there. If you smoking, if you drinking, whatever you doing, you come on, you just bring it. Every Sunday, I see you, I'm gonna speak to you, I'm gonna show you love. And then eventually, by the time you 19, maybe it ain't gonna happen overnight. Because there's a lot of stuff that I know we shouldn't do that we still do, and we still working on it, and it's 20 years later. So don't let nobody tell you it's just as soon as you stand up in front of the church and say, Lord, I accept you as my Lord and Savior, that tomorrow you're gonna wake up with brand new feet and brand new arms, because it don't happen like that. Eventually it's a process. Religion is a process. Now joining the church is just like that. You can do that tomorrow. But the process of religion, there's a whole process, and sometimes it takes people a lifetime to figure out how to actually be a Christian, because it's a everyday walk. We're gonna always have hills and valleys and stuff that gonna make us want to run back to whatever we was delivered from. But if we can have that in our heart, and we have somebody there as part of the church that's loving us and taking time out for us, we're gonna know that we always have somebody that we can lean on in the time of a downfall.
And you guys, you're right, and all of you guys are touching on the same topic. There's an old saying, you can draw more flies with honey than you can with vinegar, and that's what we feel as Christians. That's what we forget, that this Christian journey is not a sprint, it's not a marathon, it's a walk. You got to have patience, you got to have faith, but most of all, everything that you do should be based out of love. And that's what we fail to forget. We love our family members, but Christ tells us we should love each and every one. How can I love him if I don't love my brother right next to me? And those are some things that we select, because we get away from the foundation of moving away from, which is love and patience. So with this and with my next question, this is gonna be kind of for the group. I'm gonna let you start it off, Jonathan. We look at Colin Kaepernick. He had this whole stance of kneeling before the flag. First of all, before I get deep into the Terrence, once again, man, I thank you for your service. I thank you for everything that you've done. Because civilians, people, especially nowadays, don't understand the sacrifice military people put in every day. They don't understand the freedom that they give for us to obtain this freedom. And like we say, like Willie said earlier, you know, we look at Ukraine and Russia. Man, those people are going through a lot right now. You know, they're going through a lot, and to see them, you know, trying to escape the country for seeing them trying to escape the country from being bombed and etc. Man, it's tough. It's tough, and I thank God we're not in this situation. But going back to what I was saying, Colin Kaepernick, man, he kneeled to protest against civil disrest in America, and a lot of our youth, a lot of our people, blacks and whites, the only thing that they saw was him kneeling. They didn't understand the message. You know, his message was to disrespect the flag. His message was he was hating America. When we kneel, we show humble submission. And what he was doing was trying to bring attention and awareness to the effects of African Americans. So what ways can we influence the youth? Because, I mean, we are in a monkey see, monkey do, YouTube, TikTok, everything, social media. I could put something on TikTok, and my middle girl, she'll see it in 5 minutes. Hey, she the TikTok queen on it. So what can we do to go beyond the norm and influence our youth, not just on religion, but how to become better Christians?
The only way that I can answer that question is just by example. To me, the only way we can show youth how to live and be a better Christian is by us being a better Christian. I started teaching Sunday school at 10 and 11. Now, granted, you know, 10 and 11, I really didn't know a whole lot about what I was teaching about, but I knew how I had adults, elders in the church that gave me that opportunity. A lot of time when kids I know come up in the black church, I don't know too much about the white, so I'm not going to talk about them. But in the black church, we have a habit of shutting kids down when they come up to us with ideas. We have always had a thing, the older Christians have always had a thing about miming in the church, and we shut them down. We had kids that wanted to do drill teams in the church, and we shut them down. And so when kids come and they feel like they can't do anything, we're leaving them out, and they're leaving. So we need to be a better example, and we need to listen to them and allow them to do things that they might enjoy in the church. There's always a teaching moment. Even if we feel like it's something that they shouldn't be doing, we can talk to them and we can encourage them and kind of work out some kind of compromise where it can be a better fitted for the church. For example, Christian rap. I don't care for it. A lot of other people might like it. But if we allow them to a platform to express themselves, let's have like a little Saturday night thing, let them express themselves, something that will get them involved. And once we get them involved, we can keep them.
All right, Eric.
Yeah, I agree, J.K. That's critical. I mean, because if you can't provide the youth a space at your church, then your church is going to die. And like you said, if they have nothing to do with the church, even if they're raised in the church, they might not necessarily leave church altogether, but they're going to leave your church and they're going to go somewhere else that actually caters to younger people. So I think it's important that the Black church transitions and starts, putting more emphasis on providing younger people with a platform in church. And even if it's, I think you have to uncouple church from those traditions, right? So even if you have like a more traditional service for the older people, and then you have a service that's kind of a little bit more open-ended for the younger people, just to allow them to have a space at the church, because ultimately you want them there. You want them having that fellowship. You want them to be around, their elders and some Christians, versus telling them like it's either do church the way we want to do it or you got to go. Like that's not even the purpose of religion. That defeats the entire purpose, because ultimately we don't bring people to Christ like Terrence was saying. Like we are the example, and then we kind of share the gospel with them. But if they're not around, they don't even be around you, then you kind of lose them.
Willie.
Oh, Mike was already on. With the youth, I don't know. I feel like it's a hard topic to kind of solve, because I think in some cases we put too much expectations on the church and the church people to keep and bring the youth to the church, because in so many ways kids come to church. I know as a young child, parents, somebody bring you to church, you grow up in the church, but as you get older, teenage years, things like that, you can come to church every day, but what are you doing outside of church? Who are you hanging with outside of church? And that's why I go back to, it's about the crowds you hang with. Like we were just talking about us. We all met. We was at Southern Miss, but on Sunday, no matter what we did throughout the week, on Sunday, it took one of us always had to get up and go to push us to go to church. And that was our circle. So I feel like you have to have people around you to push you, or at least make you think about your actions and how you want your walk to be in Christ. Because as a lot of comments say, it's a walk. It's a walk, and you have to choose to take that first step. So that's how I see it with the youth. It's kind of complicated.
Terrence.
I guess to clarify some things that I was saying, and also to answer your question at the exact same time, not trying to judge the person, not trying to judge the person action, as in telling the person today that they're doing wrong because of what they're doing. You can only speak into somebody's life who allows you to speak into their life. So those judging that person action is the second part of that. I accepted Christ in my life. That's the discipleship part. As in, we have to when somebody allow us to speak into their life, then we can speak to some of the things that they're doing once they allow us to speak into that person's life. And just to on the exact same note with the youth, once they allow us to speak into their life, that's when we can build those relationships with them and then guide them wherever the path that they need to go. I think the ultimate thing for those youth is having a place to feel comfortable, a safe place, so that they can understand their purpose, so they can figure out what their purpose is. Because I feel like once you have that understanding of why you're on this earth, you need to understand what are you going to do while you're on this earth. And I think that's how we can reach them. That's how we can bring them in, and so they can be a active part of the body of Christ. They were created, because all of us was created for a reason. They was created to be a part of the body. We have to help them understand which part they are, and until they are part of the body is not going to operate properly, because some bodies are missing fingers. Some bodies are missing toes because the youth are not there to do the work. Because at some point, we can't do those things that the fingers and the toes can do. We have to bring others in, the younger people, so that they can do that. So our thing is educating them in the sense, in the ideal of who you are, why you're here, and what you're going to do while you're here. And that's ultimately discipling them, where we can speak into their life with love, so that we can correct whatever behavior they have to be better.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think everybody really hit the nail on the head. There's a lot when it comes to youth that you really got to take in consideration. Especially even with the youth coming to church. You got to look at the teachings that you're being taught at church even the location, something as simple as location. Like what for what reason would somebody pass 15 other churches to come to yours? You know, it's not that those 15 other churches ain't worshiping God, you know, and it's not that you're trying to do something to make them come. We have to understand that, especially in the South, it's churches on every block. And so, you know, your church may just be in the wrong location for youth to come to because they're going to another church or whatever the case may be. And then some of it is, you know, the traditions that we have in church. I do want to say this because we said it a couple of times. Be careful with that tradition word because there's some things that we do in the church that we've gotten away from that we need to get back to. We can't just say, well, we need to do some things different to bring them in. We gotta be careful with that. I agree. We do need to do something to bring the youth in, but we can't confirm to the world in order to get younger. So we just have to be careful. It's a thin line, it's a complicated thing. We have to make sure that we are being presentable, that we are being non-judgmental. And I think it's more so about who you are away from the church. Because at church, everybody's on their best behavior. When you come to church, everybody come dressed to the nine. Most people do. I ain't say everybody. Most people come dressed to a T, ironed up, ties, and all that good stuff. You know, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. How you doing today? Getting everybody hugs and love and everything. Then the next day, you cursing one of your church members out because they stubbed your foot. You know, it really works everywhere else. Like if I see you in the store and I know you go to such and such church and you act in a certain way, then why I want to come to your church? I can act like that at the crib. I don't have to do that nowhere else. So I really think it's definitely about the person that you are away from the church that entices people to get closer to you and get closer to Christ. And then the people you have in there talking with the youth. I mean, being with the youth it's a hard thing. It takes dedication. It's long nights. You gotta you're gonna lose some sleep. You know, some you're gonna be drawn closer to because you think you can do more with, and some, you know, hopefully you don't lose them, but some they're gonna walk away, and you hopefully that you say at least one thing to bring them back. So you gotta have that faith. First of all, you gotta have Christ. You gotta have God. If you don't have Him in your heart, you can't expect nobody else to stay in your situation with you and learning. So it's sticky, man. We just gotta be careful that we're doing the things that we supposed to do and inviting people in the way Christ will want us to.
Right. And go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric.
Oh, I was gonna say that I got a personal testimony with that, being in Hattiesburg, and Pastor Robert Johnson. I had no idea who he was, but I was helping somebody move out of an apartment, and we had rented like a little U-Haul, but all I had was my car, and we had like a little U-Haul that you put on the hitch on the back, and the apartment was right across the street from his house, and he had like a big white box truck. And, you know, I'm like stuffing stuff in the backseat of the car and putting stuff in the little trailer or whatever. And he just walks over. He's like, hey, man, you moving with that car? That's all you got? You don't have a truck? And I was like, you know, college kid, like, nah, that's all we got. Threw in the keys. Hey, man, here's the keys, man. Me and my brother, we use this truck for moving different kind of stuff. I mean, like a huge box truck. He's like, you can take it, man. Just throw some gas in it. And if me and my family about to go out to eat, when you get done with it, just put the keys in the mailbox. And I mean, just like, didn't know my name, didn't know nothing, saw I needed help, threw him the keys. And so a couple of months later, I saw him in Office Depot. And I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Got to talking to him or whatever. And, you know, still didn't, you know, pressure me about coming to church or nothing like that. I just really appreciated him for, you know, helping us out and everything like that. Ran to him in the third time in Applebee's, and I was with the frat. And all the frat knew him. And so they said that he was a pastor of the church. And once I found out he was a pastor, I was blown away because I wasn't used to somebody who's a pastor of a church not pressuring you to come to their church. Like that was a big thing. Like he literally just like led with love. Like, hey, you need help? Like I'm gonna be able to help you. And I don't want anything in return. Like I just want to genuinely help you out of the situation. And no mistrust, like literally Christ-like, like at the root of the definition of it. And I mean, I went to the church, and I mean, I was just blown away, man. Like that was like a time that I will remember for the rest of my life, about an example of somebody literally leading you to Christ and not trying to be Christ in front of you and trying to change them yourselves. Like, hey, I'm just going to follow Christ and treat people the way that Christ said to treat them, and hopefully that'll bring some people to him as well.
Hey, JP, I got a question.
Got an answer.
If you let me, and it can be for you or anybody in here. So one of the things that I thought about, especially when we talk about religion, the church, especially African American, even more in the South, looking at Mississippi, when you ride around, you see several churches, especially African American churches. Is Mount this, Mount that, new religion, whatever. My question is, do we have too many physical buildings?
Yes.
Like, do we need so many different churches? Because, and I give you an example, and maybe I could be completely wrong, and I'm fine with being wrong. But if you look at, best way I can put it, if you look at the white church, they have like a First Baptist, and it's a First Baptist of Madison or First Baptist of whatever. And that's like the centralized church of that city. There may be 2 or 3 more, but it's not that many. They're larger churches, I get it. But when it comes to us, we tend to have several smaller churches within a city, almost within a block of each other. I mean, you ride around, it's like a church here, ride 2 miles down the road, another church. Could we benefit from consolidating some of these churches, or are the human in us, too much?
You just answered the question. In fact, that's all right. I'm gonna let you go ahead and go. Eric, your hand was first. Go ahead.
So Rod just touched on something that I mentioned earlier. Black people and white people, church is something different to Black people than it is to white people. For Black people, it's been a lot of good throughout the years, but also like there's some people that it's bad, right? Like all of y'all have been in church a long time. I don't know how many times y'all have seen somebody just pop up with their own church, or something happen and they just leave the church, go somewhere else, start sending another church because they ain't like something, but they ain't like somebody got some regular. I mean, it's that like being divisive like that is never going to allow you to pull your resources and and really have the impact that you could possibly have if we stuck together. Like I said, back in the old day, we didn't have no choice but to stick together, right? And so now, I mean, not that we got too much education or nothing like that, but I just think that it's just too easy. Like that human, that flesh, that ego, that pride about what church is supposed to be kind of flares up. And, some people just have the resources and the following just spin off and start their own church.
Terrence?
Yes and no. Yes, because I think that is one of the tactics of the devil, is division. If you divide us, you make us a little bit weaker. Once we are divided, we can't pool our resources together to be stronger, to help more. We help fewer. But no, in the sense of I'm gonna try not to use too many names. But one of the pastors that was mentioned tonight kind of came from a church split, as in he was under a particular pastor, and there was another major church under that same particular pastor, and they were sons of the church, grew in the church, and they saw what the pastor was doing. They felt like they can do something a little bit different, and both of them have 2 different leadership styles. One is more relational, the other one is more teaching. Both have very productive churches. Both are reaching a lot of people, but just imagine what they could have done if they were together. but could they have worked together? You never know. So I think it's like a yes and a no. I think resources wise, they can we could touch so much. We could touch so much more, like what Ventures and Temple Baptist is doing. Ventures have multiple campuses now. Temple have all these different resources that touching all over the community. Where then we have real life. We have West Point. We have all these. We have Ebenezer. We have Mount Olive. We have these other churches are doing very productive work in that area. But just imagine what they can do for the whole Hattiesburg if they pool those resources together.
Willie?
Yeah, I think you're gonna get a lot of yes and no on this question. Yes, I can give you a different spin on it. I mean, I've worked in city government and city planning I did it for 6.5 years. Churches are everywhere. You got a lot of abandoned churches. You got a lot of buildings that need to come down. But religious buildings and things like that are very protected. They are very hard to do things with those structures. When I worked as a director of planning, I had every other week it was someone. Well, I want to take this building. I want to put a church in it. I want to start my own teaching. I want to do this. If you fit the bill, then yeah, go ahead and do it. I've had councilmen, people to say, well, we need to stop churches from using all these buildings. You can't do it. You can try, but it's not going to work out in your favor. Should the churches come together? I think they should, but it depends on your area. Kind of like Terrence kind of just talked about. If you have a large area or a large city, of course, it's going to take more churches, more places to hit different areas. Do they all need to combine and work together? Of course. That's the easy. That's a yes. Yes, they should. Will they? That's a whole nother question. Like we said, Rod kind of answered the question himself. You know, you can have the perfect church. It's going to be something said or somebody has a certain feeling about something that's going to create someone to leave or someone to go somewhere else. So to me, it just comes with it, in my opinion. So that's how I see that.
Well, and I'm gonna say this
church question.
I'm gonna say this too, and with the question that you asked, Rod, one thing that hurt our community, African American communities, is for one, pride. And yes, there are too many churches because, for example, you look at the church that we attend now in Union, Mississippi. That population of area, there's no more than 1,200 people, but there's 6 churches. You see what I'm saying? And so yes, there's too many churches in one defined area. Also, one thing that we do not do as African Americans, we do not organize like we need to. So if we're going to create different churches, one thing that I hate to say it, like Southern Baptist, one thing that they do different than we do, they provide different churches with teaching resources, a lot of educational materials, give their pastor benefits. You know, they put the church in position to be an organized entity to have success. You know, and like you said, like what Willie just said, hey man, I got mad at, I'm mad at Rod. I'm gonna start my own church. Boom, I got everybody here, there, but I'm not setting the church up for success in the long run. Because like we just said, we need the youth to continue to run it. And if you're going to do it, you need to organize it and run it the correct way. But like I said, guys, this has been a great topic, great discussion. Jonathan, you back on. Words that you got to say? Did you hear the question that Rod asked? Are there too many churches, Black churches in America?
I didn't hear the question, but I hear it now. And yes, it is. That's my simple answer. And that's what
Okay. Well, guys, great topic, great discussion. Everything that we said, we hope that you guys can take a lot of this information and like we said, reach one and teach one. But we know youth is the bloodline of a church. You need to have the youth in order for the church to grow. But just like Rod said, we have to find a way to bring them in, but we cannot lose our foundations. We can't lose
some of the pillars that the church was brought upon. And in order for us to grow, we can't forget, we got to pray. We got to pray. We got to pray. We got to pray. We always got to pray, ask for guidance, and ask the Lord to help us. But before we kick it off and end this podcast with you guys tonight, I want each of you guys to share one of the most comical or the most funny event or thing that happened to you while you was at church. I'm gonna start this one out. I remember this. I don't know what in the world got into my mind. I don't know what in the world that led me to this, but I was at Union Baptist. Me and Jonathan was at church, and this dude tricked me to lead a song. I cannot carry a tune. I can't. I'm like robot. I'm a robot. And I got a friend in church. And I started singing Go Tell on the Mountain. I said, what the world? And I quit mid-song. I just like straight quit. So, but like I said, you know, and that's one thing that we fail to share, you know. Like you said, we always use church as judgmental. I stepped out there. I don't know why I stepped out there, but it was the worst experience of my life. I was just waiting on the church members to boo me like Impalo. So now I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Terrence. What's one of your most embarrassing comical things that occurred to you while you was at church?
I can't say it was embarrassing, but it was very comical as I look back on it. My first time up speaking, Willie made mention to my first sermon. So I'm in the church, I'm speaking. It was two of us speaking tonight. We had a 20-minute limit. So I got up there, I hit my points, and I was on my last point, and I was getting ready to close it out. And I see I'm in the church, and I see the sound man throwing his hands up. I'm like, goodness, he must be really getting into it. So when people give you that energy, you think you ought to feed off that energy and give them even more. So he throw his hands up. So then I started really going in depth on what I was saying, because I feel like the crowd is getting into it. And then I see him waving his hands. I'm like, he's really getting into it. Then I look at the clock. It's showing 25 minutes. I'm 5 minutes over. I have somebody who's be preaching after me. He was not yelling and shouting, telling me, hey, keep on going, I'm really feeling this. He was telling me the time is up, you need to wrap it up. So with hindsight 2020, that was very hilarious to me. Not really embarrassed, because I kind of I was into it.
Eric.
It's hard to think of a specific, like it's the specifics of the time, but you know, everybody in here then sang in the choir, and you know, having to lead a song and forgetting the words is always embarrassing. But when your church got a nice sound system, and you know, y'all got, you know, 2,500 people that go to the church and all this stuff, it's just a little bit rougher to be up there and go blank than it is, you know, at the small hometown church. So for me, it's definitely forgetting the words to a song that you lead.
Give us a few notes.
Well, I'm just recovering from a sinus infection right now, so you know, I'm really, you know, ain't in tip-top shape. I got you next.
Talk to me, Rod.
All the ones that I can think of involve 4-letter words. I don't even know which one I should do. Somebody might, because a couple of y'all was with me with one of them. A couple of y'all was with me with both of them. I'm gonna go with this. This is what I'm gonna do, because somebody might say the other. And if they don't say it, I come back and tell you the other. So this one in particular, one of us had put on this event at their church. It was like a conference, like a men and women's conference or whatnot. And so I think it was the very first one, and we all were there, and there were several different speakers. I got a chance to get up and say a few things. I think Terrence was there. He got a chance to preach, and several other people were there. I think John, the family came and sung. It was a lot. It was a great time. But we were talking about a particular topic. I don't remember what it was. And this old lady was sitting in the back of the church, and she was saying that y'all know about these benches, but she didn't say benches.
No, she said it. She said it.
She did say benches. Y'all took it the wrong way.
She did not say bitches, and she was clear as all outdoors. Y'all need to fix these bitches in church.
Why she said it? Dang.
I was too tickled. And I'm trying not to laugh because I'm sitting in the front of the church. I'm sitting like I was on the panel at that time. So I'm sitting up there with the mic in my hand trying not to laugh. But she said it's clear as day. Jonathan would deny it until he died. But I know what she said. And everybody else that was in there knowing too.
Right. I was sitting right beside the woman. You know, and she said, y'all need to fix these. It ain't no bench. Ain't no bench in that conversation.
Man, that was hilarious.
Willie, go ahead.
I don't think I can top that. Stories. I know growing up in church, like I say, at some point I started playing drums with my church, and how the drums was, I used to look at the congregation. So that in itself was always, you didn't know how things was gonna go. I used to see people's faces doing certain sermons, doing certain folks were singing, and that was just a total different experience. But personally, I can say one, we were younger in the church, and it was a pastor. I to this day I can't tell you what this pastor was actually talking about, but I know he preached about them bones for 30 minutes. Them bones. Every other line was them bones. If me and my sister ever talk about it, it's hilarious. It's just them bones. That's what I took from them bones. I know we're talking about dominoes or what, but it was them bones. So that was a funny one to me.
No, man. Jonathan, go ahead.
First off, Mike Smith, I'm gonna clarify what this lady said. She said we shouldn't be like broke bitches in the church. And what she was saying is broke bitches don't do nothing. We need to be. That's what she said.
That's what she meant.
That ain't making it better, Jonathan.
That's what she said.
Sorry.
Anyway, that's what
making
she
it no
said.
better, man.
I gotta clarify for the people in the comments because they're gonna think this lady got up and cussed in the church because I know her personally.
It's too late.
I know what she was
too
saying.
late.
But anyway,
Bring it late on the podcast.
And she was clear as day. Don't
Anyway.
be no broke bitch.
anyway, I think the I was gonna say this. I was walking across the front of the church one day, and my belt broke, and I almost lost my pants in the middle of the church, but I caught them just in time. So I think that was the most embarrassing thing that I have.
The Lord caught them pants.
I'm telling you. It's the Jesus in you caught them pants, Jonathan. Give him his credit.
We're gonna stop talking about the lady in the church.
The Holy Spirit guided you to grab them pants.
I'm telling you. Don't take credit for something that you ain't do, Jonathan.
Now look, because nobody brought it up, I'm gonna say it. I know they probably don't want me to tell this story, but I think it was 4 of us, might have been 5. And we went to this church, and the church I think is closed now. So we went to Mount Carmel when we was in college. Jonathan took us all to Mount Carmel. It was our first time going to Mount Carmel, but we didn't know what to expect or really what was going on in the church. And so we get there at the beginning. We get there early. We sit in the back on the left side. If anybody from Hattiesburg know Mount Carmel, it's a blue church, completely blue.
I can't believe you can't tell the story.
Hey, put it out there.
I can't believe you can tell the story.
I'm gonna tell it, yeah. And so we get there and they have a devotion. They make you stand up, and you stand up, and you know they do whatever. Then you sit down. and then there may be a prayer. Then you have to stand up again, and you sing another song. You sit down. And I think we stood up a third time, and we sat down. So it came the fourth time, and it was time to stand up. Now I'm gonna let that person call himself out if you want to, but one of us didn't stand up, and so we were trying to get that young fella to stand up. And he was like, "What, man? What we gotta do is gotta stand up again." And he said, "Oh, with the S word, another fella."
Who said that? Y'all guess in the comments. Y'all guess in the comments who y'all think said that.
Hey, put it in the comments.
Y'all wild, cuz.
My vote is Jonathan. My vote is Jonathan.
It was not Jonathan. It's just
I don't know.
One of us said it. I don't remember who all went to church. But I know at least 3 of us that was there. I think it was 4 of us there.
Well, I wasn't there, but I heard the story, and so we can all X one person out the list. I wasn't there, but I heard the story, and it was a good one when I heard it.
JP wasn't there.
So it just okay.
I don't recall that. I don't know.
It was Willie, Rod, Jonathan, and Air. I guess we was the 4 that was
If
there.
y'all know us, y'all know who it was.
Well, I'm telling the story, so it wasn't me.
How we know that? The lie don't matter who tell it now.
But it ain't a lie.
I ain't got no problem owning up to my walk in Christ. We stood up 1, 2, 3 times that Sunday. It didn't mean it both like shoot.
See, you and that woman at Jonathan Church, y'all hang out a lot.
Oh yeah,
because y'all let it rip. You hollering no shoot. See how this
the Lord
hey,
was working with me.
Y'all cooking in the church.
He was working with me.
That was one of those late night Saturday, stayed out too late at the hi-hat Sundays. And, we were tired, and they did make us stand up a bunch of times. It was I don't know why we kept standing up.
Y'all was some good service that day.
Well, look, man. Hey, man. Look, it's we done kept these nice people a long time, and before we get off, and we give y'all let y'all have it. Jonathan, I will, since today's highlighting him, another funny thing he did, man. Like I said, Jonathan can sing. He's multi-talented in the church, but when dropping the mic became a thing, so when Jonathan used to come home and visit us in church, Jonathan would just, small church, you just drop the mic. Drop the mic. And he done broke several mics for us at Unity Community Church, but we still love him. We still thankful for his entertainment and his he know how to break our bank account. But y'all got any final words before we move on and close the show out?
One of the things, I think there was a comment, I don't want to skip over it.
Okay.
Mike asked, what exactly defines success in church? I think that's just kind of, it's based on the church and based on the community. Some churches have to be very prevalent in the community and doing things and being seen. And some churches, that's not their calling. Some churches may be, a ministry church where they're doing more things in, the world. There's some churches who are kind of a financial resource. It just kind of depends on the church in the area. I don't think it's one particular thing, but I do think every church should strive to do something towards the word and followers of Christ. So as long as you're doing something and not just being broke benches.
Right. I like the Charles answer too, man.
Yeah.
Strong outreach ministry, strong youth ministry, steady growth and active member, consistent growth in knowledge and spreading knowledge, numerous people accepting Christ and bills paid, And once you can't finish it off with love. If you don't have love in the church won't grow. If you don't have love, you won't forgive people for their wrongdoings. If you don't have love, you won't help nobody when they're coming short. But in order to have these outreach ministries and youth ministries, in order to help and teach each one, you got to have that love too. So I think LaCharles had a great answer on that. I really do.
I think it kind of depends on what you see success as. What do you see a successful church as? I mean, some people are fine with the small local community church that's doing outreach to the immediate area around them. Some people are fine with the mega church that's reaching more people and it is a greater resource. So I think it depends on what you see a successful church as, which is also that's going to lead you to what church you choose to go to. So I think it kind of boils down to a personal preference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Willie. It's all about everybody got their own definition of what success is personally, and then a church is like an organism of its own. That whatever that leader see what success is, and the body is focused on whatever direction the leader is going in for it to be successful. I think that's the perfect picture of success.
I think a successful church is a church that works outside the four walls. If you have a church that's really working in the community, who's not just up there preaching about paying your money and paying your tithes and your offering and paying for this and paying for that, you can have a successful ministry.
All right. All right. Anyone else? All right. Well, look, man. Hey, thank you so much, people, for your time. We thank you for your love. We thank you for everything. And I kind of want to get into my final thought. Please make sure you come back next week. Reach one, teach one, bring one. But next week, man, one thing that really bothered me, and I kind of want you guys to think about it as well. I'm not on Facebook, so but please go ahead and kind of get in the discussion. One thing that really grind my gears or really just kind of irked me, and should we continue to celebrate Black History Month? Should we continue to celebrate Black history? So that's one thing that I kind of want to talk about next week, because I just want to talk about it next week. So, but Rod, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you have your final say with everything else.
All right. Again, want to thank everybody for taking some time to join us here in Apartment 4A. We appreciate all the comments, everybody coming in and out. We ask everybody, if you would, please like and share the group. Invite somebody over. We don't mind. Like we tell them, like we used to tell them when we was at the Apartment 4A, when you come the first time, you're a guest, feel free to ask us anything and we'll get it for you. But when you come the second time, you better know everything else. You got to get it yourself. We appreciate you guys. Come, continue to share, continue to like, continue to show us the love. You can find us on Facebook at Apartment 4A. You can also find us on YouTube. You can find us on Google Podcasts. That is actually up and running. You can find us on Anchor Podcasts and on I forgot the other one here. Yeah, Spotify. That was the last one. On Spotify. So please take some time to join us anytime. We'll be here next Wednesday at 9:00. We'll be talking about Black history. Should we continue to celebrate Black history? That's going to be interesting. We're going to be highlighting Mr. JP, hosted by Mr. Johnny Key. And I want to give y'all something too, everybody that's still watching. On Mondays, if y'all might have saw it here, we're gonna post something about the topic. We'd love to have your inputs to kind of get us going and make sure that we kind of hit some of the things that you want to talk about. And at the same time, feel free to come in and post topics. You can direct message us. You can send us an email or anything, and just if there's something that you want to talk about, or something that you want us to talk about, please feel free to let us know. The email's at the top, on Facebook page at the top. We appreciate you guys, and like always, you ain't got to go home.
Hey, Rod, did you tell them about the gift prize we're gonna give out? We said we were gonna put together a $10,000 gift prize. We're gonna you know, we're gonna issue it out on the 32nd.
Go on, close it out, Rod. You can all close it out. He ain't talking about anything.
Time, man.
You got it, Rod.
He is delusional. He is delusional.
Yeah, we can go ahead and kick him out. Like always, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here, man. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
Exactly.
I got my own room. So and then after that, we go to the apartment 4